Hey! Welcome to Champagne Socialism. As a fairly left-wing person, I often have the term Champagne Socialist thrown at me. And I can't imagine why. Before you say anything, right, this bottle, sparkling wine, so big difference. But what actually does Champagne Socialism mean? What's the history behind the term, and does it actually make any sense? Well, let's find out. But before we do that, just very quickly, as you can see on the screen here, basically none of you watching this video are currently subscribed. So I want to cheers to the video. I'll clink my glass, and what you do is you subscribe, okay? So when I cheers, you subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, really help me out. And also, you know, just for the fun festive occasion. So 3, 2, 1, cheers to Champagne Socialism. Please subscribe. So Champagne Socialism, for those who haven't heard the term before, is a phrase originating in the UK and is generally regarded as meaning someone whose left-wing beliefs contradict with their lifestyle and wealth. So basically someone who is left-wing but also lives a life of luxury. Closely related to the idea of sort of a liberal elite more commonly in American politics, who are misguided from what they think is best for others or for those less well-off than them. But is this all there really is to the term Champagne Socialism? What's the history behind it? And does it actually make any sense? The idea of Champagne Socialism has certainly evolved over time. Originating in England, the term began as a means to highlight a disconnect between the theories that the wealthy would espouse and the actions they would take. The original usage of the term was to mock the idea of wealthy people in a room toasting champagne to the great socialist thinkers, whilst not actually representing and or making efforts to implement the ideas that they are discussing. The concept can also be seen in 19th century Russian philosopher Alexander Herzen, often attributed to be the founder of Russian socialism, who in his book From the Other Shore in 1855 wrote, "It is they, none other, who are dying of cold and hunger, while you and I in our rooms on the first floor are chatting about socialism over pastry and champagne." Criticism upon fellow socialists who, whilst loving the theory, do little to actually implement these ideas and instead live well off while others struggle. So sort of originally the idea of a Champagne Socialist was something that socialists would use against people who would love the theory and would, you know, read Marx and Engels and live it. But then when push came to shove, they wouldn't actually take any actions to try and implement the change, as they weren't affected by the struggles that they were, you know, identifying. Over the years, however, the insult became increasingly more of one from the right towards the left, aiming to expose hypocrisy rather than a lack of practicality in the Herzen sense. For example, this insult was flung at the writer and Labour supporter John Mortimer, who, when accused of being a Champagne Socialist, said that he preferred to be thought of as more of a Bollinger Bolshevik, which, if you're a champagne connoisseur, it's pretty funny. People in modern times have even referred to Karl Marx as sort of the first Champagne Socialist due to him being born in a wealthy family. Does the insult Champagne Socialism actually make any sense? First of all, drink spray. No, this video is not just an excuse for me to get drunk on champagne at what appears to be 4:30. So let's break this down. So the hypocrisy that is gestured towards here is that being a socialist and enjoying luxury isn't compatible, which begs the question: what do these insult wielders think socialism is? Socialism, to my understanding, is when the workers own the means of production, rather simply. And I think in a modern context, this is best understood through the idea of worker-owned co-ops, where workers democratically own and run the companies they work for. So how is this idea of workers owning the means of production and having democratic control over the work they do in any way contradictory with being a well-off individual? Possible interpretation would be to say that one shouldn't trust a well-off person who argues for economic and political equality, as they don't understand what it's like to struggle in the current system, which doesn't make too much sense to me. Can I not campaign against starvation because I myself have never starved? Or can I not fight against cancer because I've never been afflicted by the illness? It seems rather silly to me. Perhaps instead what is meant is that there is an inherent hatred for success and wealth on the left, and that we all have to just advocate for Soviet-style bread lines and only, you know, sustenance living for all. And look, whilst we all do enjoy a good guillotine joke every once in a while, this hatred of luxury just isn't a major part of the left, in my opinion. Whilst it is fair that there is a decent dislike for billionaires and, you know, the uber wealthy, such as your Bezoses and your Bill Gates, this still doesn't portray any hypocrisy unless the socialist you are trying to criticize is indeed themselves a billionaire, which I doubt you'll find too many are. There's a significant difference between living an upper middle class lifestyle and having so much money that you could end homelessness like that. And even if this was the case, it still does nothing to argue against socialism. It's essentially the equivalent of an ad hominem in debating, a personal attack which has nothing to argue against the ideas at hand. If I stood up on stage and started proclaiming the greatness of socialism and someone in the crowd shouted, "Oh, you're just a champagne socialist," that hasn't gone against anything that I've said to the point. It's just kind of rude. Maybe champagne socialist isn't the best term to use. Maybe the insult is better applied to a more common string of left-wing thought that we see in modern politics. Social democrats, people who just want, redistribution and welfare states. Someone who would favor redistribution and could often receive the random question, "Oh, you're left-wing? Why not just give all your money away? Haha, checkmate lib." Well, even here, in the case of a social democrat, there is no hypocrisy. One can benefit from low taxes and advocate for higher ones upon themselves and those above them. There's no inconsistency there. To be honest, it feels a lot like that comic strip, "Oh, you criticize society and yet you participate in it? I am very smart. Haha, checkmate libs," once again. If anything, this would suggest that those who use this accusation think that it's okay to be rich as long as you don't want to help people who are less well off than you. If you're rich and you want to help working class people, you're just a hypocrite and that's not okay. I mean, to be honest, this is quite well demonstrated by the fact that David Cameron once called Ed Miliband a champagne socialist. Ed Miliband, a socialist with champagne. Ed Miliband. I mean, if that doesn't show you how badly this insult is applied, I don't know what will. A little top up there. Cheers. I mean, to me, what seems most likely is that those who use this insult seem to just not have an accurate conception of what socialism is, and would likely define the complex and diverse political ideology. I'm already starting to slow my speech. And would likely define the complex and diverse political ideology as when the government does stuff. And the more stuff it does, the more socialism it is. And if it does a whole bunch of stuff, it's communism. So it seems like champagne socialism is an empty insult simply meant to shut down discussion, and an appeal for right-wing leaders to come off as a better advocate for working class issues, which, I don't know about you, but I just simply think isn't the case. In my opinion, the best way that that the insult champagne socialist is applied is in the Herzen sense that we saw earlier, towards someone who can quote the entirety of Capital to you backwards, but has not and will never take any real action to implement the ideas that they indulge in, almost luxuriously, potentially, whilst they also suffer none of the negatives that capitalism brings on society. So the idea of champagne socialism seems to me to be a more appropriate insult from a socialist to someone who they would consider to be a fake socialist. So that's right, we should call people champagne socialists because they aren't doing enough socialism. And yeah, this has been an exploration into the term champagne socialism. Have I overanalyzed and debunked this mostly innocuous insult? Yeah, fair enough. I definitely have. But hey, I've had fun while doing it, and I hope you have too. So yeah, thanks for watching. Grab yourself a drink. We can all be champagne socialists together. It's a lovely time. But no, seriously, if you've enjoyed this video, please throw a like. Maybe nearly said a champagne. If you've enjoyed this video, please throw a like, maybe a comment, and even a subscribe. Let me know what kind of video you want me to do next. I've had lots of fun drinking champagne and talking about socialism, two of my favorite things. All my fellow champagne socialists out here, and even if you're just a regular socialist, or you're just not a socialist at all, and you just think, hey, that wacky British guy's having fun, subscribe, enjoy our stuff. We're a small channel. Any attention we get is, means the world to us. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Oh my god, this is so difficult. Fucking hell. I didn't know this was so difficult. Hey!